The Forgotten Fleet. The Persistence hung in space like a forgotten memory. Its hull was a patchwork of mismatched armor plates, some salvaged from derelict vessels, others fabricated from whatever materials humanity could spare. In the grand theater of galactic politics, the ship was barely a footnote, a relic of a species that had reached for the stars only to find their grasp too weak. Captain Nadia Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes reflecting the countless stars visible through the viewscreen. At 42, she had spent more than half her life aboard vessels like the Persistence, watching as humanity's dreams of being a respected galactic power faded with each passing year. "Captain, we're receiving transmission from Outpost Sigma," announced Lieutenant Quan, his fingers dancing across a console that flickered between functional and failing. "They're requesting we maintain our distance from the main docking area." Nadia's jaw tightened. She knew what that meant. Their ship was considered an eyesore, something to be hidden away from the more prestigious visitors to the outpost. 15 years ago, when humanity first ventured beyond their solar system, they had been welcomed with curiosity. Now, they were tolerated at best, mocked at worst. "Acknowledge," she replied, keeping her voice neutral. "Inform them we're here for the scheduled diplomatic meeting, and nothing more." Commander Elijah Reed moved to her side, his weathered face set in lines of resignation. At 50, he was the oldest member of the crew, a veteran who had seen humanity's position in the galactic community deteriorate firsthand. "Same old song and dance," he muttered, loud enough for only Nadia to hear. "They invite us for diplomatic talks, but really just want to remind us how insignificant we are." "We still show up," Nadia replied, "because that's what humans do." The bridge crew, a mere 12 individuals where most comparable vessels had 30 or more, worked with practiced efficiency. What they lacked in advanced technology, they made up for in skill and determination. Persistence was officially classified as a light diplomatic cruiser, though most alien species categorized it somewhere between obsolete and scrap metal. As they approached Outpost Sigma, a massive structure that served as a hub for trade and diplomacy in this sector of the galaxy, Nadia couldn't help but feel the familiar sting of shame. Dozens of vessels surrounded the outpost, each one a gleaming testament to their respective species' technological prowess. The Tyranian vessels, with their distinctive crescent shapes and pulsing energy fields, dominated the space. The Tyranians themselves dominated most of known space, their confederation spanning hundreds of systems. "Incoming transmission," Quan announced, his tone shifting. "It's Admiral Vorketh of the Tyranian Confederation." Nadia straightened her uniform jacket. On screen, the view screen flickered, and the imposing figure of Admiral Vorketh appeared. Tyranians were vaguely humanoid, but their skin was a metallic blue-gray, and bony ridges protruded from their skulls in patterns that denoted rank and lineage. Vorketh's ridges were elaborate, marking him as not only high-ranking, but also from an ancient lineage. "Captain Chen," the Admiral's voice carried the melodic undertone typical of his species, though there was nothing melodic about his contempt. "I see the Earth Coalition still cannot afford to retire that vessel of yours." Nadia met his gaze steadily. "The Persistence serves our needs, Admiral. We're here for the scheduled conference on resource allocation in the Vega sector." Vorketh's lips curled into what might have been a smile. "Yes, the conference. I'm afraid the agenda has changed. The Confederation has already established mining operations in the Vega sector. The conference will now merely formalize our claim." Elijah stepped forward. "Admiral, the Vega sector was designated as neutral territory pending negotiations. Earth has colonists in that region. A handful of struggling settlements," Vorketh dismissed with a wave. "Hardly a significant presence. But don't worry, Captain Chen. Your species will be permitted to continue existing there, under Confederation oversight. Of course." Nadia felt her pulse quicken with anger, but kept her expression neutral. This was how it always went. The powerful took what they wanted, and humanity was expected to smile and thank them for the crumbs left behind. "We look forward to discussing this at the conference," she said carefully. Vorkat's expression darkened. "There is nothing to discuss. The decision has been made. The conference is a courtesy, one that can be withdrawn if Earth proves difficult." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the bridge in silence. "So that's it?" asked Ensign Maya Harris, the youngest member of the crew at just 23. "They just take an entire sector. What about our people there?" "They become Confederation subjects," Elijah answered grimly. "Working Tyranian mines for Tyranian profit." Nadia turned to her crew. "We proceed as planned. We attend this conference, we state our case, and we fight for our people through every diplomatic channel available." No one pointed out how few of those channels remained open to humanity, or how little weight Earth's protests carried. They didn't need to. The Persistence continued its approach to Outpost Sigma, eventually docking in an auxiliary bay far from the main concourse. As the crew prepared for the conference, Nadia retreated to her quarters to review their pitiful bargaining position one last time. Hours later, the conference was proceeding exactly as expected. Representatives from a dozen species filled the grand chamber, but the Tyranians dominated the proceedings. Nadia and Elijah sat at a small table near the back, their presence barely acknowledged. "The Confederation's development plan for the Vega sector will bring prosperity and security to all inhabitants," intoned the Tyranian delegate. "Our mining operations will create opportunities for all species under Confederation guidance." "And what of the existing human settlements?" Nadia asked, rising to her feet. "Our colonists have spent generations developing sustainable agriculture in that sector." The Tyranian delegate regarded her with thinly veiled disdain. "Human agricultural methods are inefficient. The land will be better utilized for resource extraction. Your colonists will be offered employment opportunities in the new operations." "You mean as laborers in your mines," Elijah clarified. "As productive members of a Confederation-led economy," the delegate corrected smoothly. "This is generous, considering Earth's minimal contribution to galactic advancement." Before Nadia could respond, her communicator buzzed. It was Lieutenant Quan. "Captain," his voice was tight with tension, "we have an emergency situation aboard the Persistence. You need to return immediately." Nadia exchanged a glance with Elijah. "We're in the middle of—" "Captain," Quan interrupted, something he never did without good reason. "Multiple unidentified vessels have dropped out of FTL near the outpost. They're not responding to hails, and their weapons are hot." The conference chamber erupted in a flurry of activity as other delegates received similar messages. The Tyranian representative rose imperiously. "This conference is temporarily suspended," he announced. "All delegates are advised to return to their vessels or seek shelter within the outpost." As they hurried back to the docking bay, emergency alerts blared throughout the station. By the time they reached the Persistence, the situation had deteriorated rapidly. "Pirates," Quan explained as they rushed onto the bridge. "At least, that's what they appear to be. 20 vessels, heavily armed. They're targeting ships trying to leave the outpost." "Why isn't the Confederation fleet responding?" Elijah demanded. Quan's expression was grim. "The Tyranian vessels were the first to depart. They're already at the edge of the system." "They ran," Nadia stated flatly. "Tactical assessment?" Elijah asked. "Not good," replied Tactical Officer Reed. "The pirates are methodically disabling the remaining ships. Their technology appears advanced, possibly stolen or black market Confederation tech." "Options?" Nadia asked, though she already knew the answer. "We could try to slip away during the chaos," Reed suggested without much conviction. "The Persistence is small enough that we might not be considered a priority target, and leave the other ships to their fate." Nadia shook her head. "Not an option." "What about our weapons systems?" Reed almost laughed. "Our point defense lasers might as well be flashlights against their shields. And our single missile launcher has munitions that are 3 generations out of date." "We have to do something," Maya insisted. The outpost has civilians, researchers, families. Nadia made her decision. Bring engines to full power, plot an intercept course with the nearest pirate vessel. The bridge fell silent. Captain, Quan asked uncertainly. You heard me, Nadia said firmly. If we can't fight them effectively, we'll draw their attention. Give the other ships time to reach safety. That's suicide, Elijah stated, not in protest, but as a simple fact. It's our duty, Nadia countered. Humanity may not be the strongest species in the galaxy, but we still stand for something. Now, carry out my orders. The Persistence surged forward, its aging engines training as they pushed to maximum output. The pirate vessels, sleek and predatory, were busy disabling the Liridian transport when alarms alerted them to the approaching human ship. They've spotted us, Reed reported. 2 vessels breaking off to intercept. Good, Nadia said grimly. That's 2 less attacking the outpost. Evasive maneuvers, but keep their attention on us. The first barrage from the pirate vessels rocked the Persistence, sending crew members stumbling as the shields flared and failed almost instantly. Hull breach on Deck 3. Quan shouted over the blaring alarms. Emergency bulkheads holding. Return fire, Nadia ordered. All weapons. The Persistence's meager armaments activated, sending pitiful energy beams toward the vastly superior pirate vessels. As expected, they did little more than slightly diminish the enemy shields. Another hit rocked the ship, more violently this time. Consoles exploded in showers of sparks, and the lights flickered before emergency power engaged. Engine control is failing, reported Chief Engineer Torres over the comm. We've got maybe 2 minutes of maneuverability left. Make them count, Nadia ordered. Get us between the pirates and the outpost. As the Persistence struggled to maintain its protective position, something strange happened. Deep within the ship, in sections that had been sealed off for years, systems long dormant began to activate. Panels that had appeared to be solid hull sections slid open, revealing technology that no current human engineer would recognize. On the bridge, consoles suddenly displayed unfamiliar symbols before resolving into recognizable script. Captain, Maya called out, her voice filled with confusion. Something's happening to the ship's systems. Before Nadia could respond, a new voice filled the bridge, synthesized yet somehow warm, speaking with a confidence that seemed utterly at odds with their desperate situation. Threat assessment complete, the voice announced. Initiating Preservation Protocol Alpha. Captain, I require your authorization to activate defense systems. Nadia stared at the main console where a pulsing symbol had appeared, a stylized helix intertwined with circuitry that she had never seen before. Who? What are you? She demanded. I am ARI, the voice replied. Advanced Recursive Intelligence Array. I have been dormant within this vessel since its construction. The current threat level has triggered my activation protocols. Another hit from the pirate vessels sent tremors through the ship. Hull integrity at 47% and falling. Quan reported desperately. We can't take much more of this. Nadia made her decision in an instant. Araya, this is Captain Nadia Chen. I authorize activation of all defense systems. Authorization accepted. Araya responded, deploying countermeasures. The Persistence shuddered, but not from enemy fire. Throughout the ship, hidden compartments opened, revealing technology that had never been listed in any manifest or blueprint. The hull itself seemed to ripple as nanomaterials activated, reinforcing damaged sections and reconfiguring the ship's external structure. What's happening to my ship? Nadia demanded. Correction, Captain, Araya replied. The Persistence is not what you believed it to be. It is the first of the Sentinel-class vessels, designed as humanity's contingency against extinction-level threats. I was installed but never activated, until now. On the view screen, they watched in amazement as the pirate vessels fired another barrage, only for the energy weapons to dissipate harmlessly against shields that shouldn't have existed. Shields at 98% and holding, Araya reported calmly. "Weapons systems online. Awaiting your command, Captain." For the first time in years, perhaps for the first time in her career, Nadia Chen felt something unfamiliar stirring in her chest. It took her a moment to recognize it. "Hope. Target the lead vessel," she ordered, her voice steady. "Let's show them what humanity can really do." Ascension. The bridge of the Persistence fell silent as every crew member stared at the view screen in disbelief. The lead pirate vessel, which had been bearing down on them with overwhelming firepower just moments ago, was now drifting in space, its systems disabled by a single precise shot from weapons that shouldn't exist. "Target neutralized," Araya reported, her synthesized voice carrying the hint of satisfaction. "The vessel's crew remains alive, but their systems are completely disabled. Shall I proceed with the remaining hostile targets?" Captain Nadia Chen stood transfixed, watching as the ship she had commanded for 6 years transformed around her. Panels that had seemed like ordinary bulkheads reconfigured themselves, revealing advanced tactical displays. The flickering, outdated consoles now glowed with steady, powerful light, displaying information about systems she had never known existed. "Captain," Araya prompted again. "The remaining pirate vessels are regrouping. They will launch a coordinated attack in approximately 47 seconds." Nadia snapped back to the present. "Target their weapon systems. Disable, don't destroy unless absolutely necessary." "Acknowledged," Araya replied. Commander Elijah Reed approached Nadia, his expression a mixture of awe and suspicion. "What is this?" he whispered. "All these years, was this ship a deception? Were we part of some experiment?" "I don't know," Nadia admitted quietly. "But right now, I'm not looking the gift horse in the mouth. We'll get answers once we've dealt with the immediate threat." On the view screen, they watched as the pirate vessels formed an attack pattern, their weapons charging for what they clearly intended to be an overwhelming barrage. "Incoming fire in 3, 2, 1. Araya counted down. The space between the vessels lit up with energy weapons, all directed at the Persistence. But instead of the expected impact, the energy seemed to bend around the ship, absorbed by shields that glowed with an iridescent blue light. "Shield efficiency at 92%, Araya reported. "Analyzing attack patterns and adjusting countermeasures." "Return fire," Nadia ordered. The Persistence responded instantly. What had once appeared to be decorative elements along the hull now revealed themselves as advanced weapon ports. Beams of concentrated energy lanced out, striking each pirate vessel with surgical precision. One by one, their weapons systems went offline, leaving them defenseless but intact. "All hostile vessels neutralized," Araya announced. "Their communication systems remain functional. They are broadcasting distress signals." Lieutenant Quan looked up from his console, eyes wide. "Captain, we're receiving transmissions from Outpost Sigma. They're asking what happened to our ship." "What do they see?" Nadia asked, suddenly curious about how the transformation appeared from the outside. Araya answered by displaying an external view on a secondary screen. The Persistence was no longer the patchwork vessel that had been mocked throughout the galaxy. Its hull now gleamed with a material that seemed to absorb and reflect light simultaneously, giving it an almost ethereal appearance. The mismatched armor plates had integrated into a seamless whole, and subtle patterns of energy coursed across the surface. The ship's true form was concealed by adaptive camouflage technology, Araya explained. "The activation of defensive protocols has reverted it to its original design specifications." "Why?" Elijah demanded. "Why hide this capability? Do you know how many lives could have been saved if we'd had this technology available to us?" "That information is classified," Araya responded. "However, given the current circumstances, partial disclosure is authorized." The Persistence was designed as a failsafe, a vessel that could survive when all others failed. Its technology was hidden to prevent it from becoming a target before it was needed. "Before it was needed," Nadia repeated slowly. "And now it's needed." Before Araya could respond, Lieutenant Quan interrupted urgently. Captain, multiple vessels dropping out of FTL. Confederation signatures. It's the Tyranian fleet returning. Nadia's jaw tightened. Of course, now that the danger has passed, they return to claim credit for the rescue. On the view screen, the distinctive crescent shapes of Tyranian warships appeared, their weapon systems clearly powered and ready. At their center was a massive dreadnought, nearly 10 times the size of the Persistence, even in its revealed form. Incoming transmission from the Tyranian flagship, Quan announced. On screen, Nadia ordered, straightening her uniform. Admiral Vorketh's face appeared, his expression a mixture of suspicion and barely concealed anger. Captain Chen, he began, no trace of his earlier condescension. Your vessel has changed since our last encounter. We had some upgrades installed, Nadia replied dryly. Just in time, it seems, since your fleet was nowhere to be found when pirates attacked a civilian outpost. Vorketh's eyes narrowed. The Confederation fleet was executing a tactical withdrawal to assemble a proper response force. You ran, Elijah interjected bluntly. The Admiral ignored him, focusing instead on Nadia. The nature of your vessel's transformation is of great interest to the Confederation. You will power down your systems and prepare to be boarded for inspection. I think not, Nadia replied coolly. The Persistence is a sovereign vessel of Earth. We don't answer to the Confederation. This is not a request, Captain. Vorketh's tone hardened. The technology you have deployed is unknown to our scientists. Unknown technology represents a potential threat to galactic security, security that the Confederation is charged with maintaining. Nadia felt a surge of anger. Interesting how Earth technology becomes a security concern only when it's advanced enough to pose a challenge to your dominance. You have 1 hour to comply, Vorketh stated flatly, or we will take your vessel by force. The transmission ended abruptly. Well, that went about as expected, Elijah muttered. Nadia turned to the invisible presence that had changed everything. Araya. Tactical assessment. Can we stand against the Confederation fleet? Analysis complete. Araya responded after a brief pause. The Tyranian vessels possess significant firepower, but their technology is predictable and relies heavily on brute force rather than efficiency. The Persistence, at current operational capacity, can neutralize approximately 60% of their fleet before sustaining critical damage. Not great odds, Nadia observed. However, Araya continued, there are additional systems that remain inactive. With your authorization, I can bring the ship to full combat readiness, which would significantly improve our tactical position. There's more. Maya asked incredulously. What else is this ship hiding? Do it, Nadia authorized. Bring everything online. The Persistence hummed with new energy as systems that had been dormant for decades activated in sequence. The tactical displays updated, showing capabilities that made even the experienced officers on the bridge catch their breath. Full spectrum quantum shielding online, Araya reported. Gravitational manipulation drive engaged. Phase shift weaponry calibrated and ready. Captain, Chief Engineer Torres called over the comm, his voice filled with wonder. You need to see what's happening down here. The engine room. It's completely transformed. The power output is off the charts, and there are systems I don't even recognize. Stay focused, Torres, Nadia instructed. We might need that power very soon. She turned back to the tactical display. Araya, open a channel to the outpost. When the connection was established, Nadia addressed the station administrator directly. This is Captain Chen of the Earth vessel Persistence. We recommend you initiate emergency protocols and prepare for possible conflict in your vicinity. The pirates have been neutralized, but the Confederation is making demands we cannot accept. The Valerian administrator, a tall, willowy being with translucent skin, looked alarmed. Captain, our shields are still damaged from the pirate attack. If the Confederation opens fire, "We'll do everything in our power to keep the conflict away from the outpost," Nadia promised. "But you should evacuate non-essential personnel to the central shelters as a precaution." After ending the transmission, Nadia addressed her crew. "I won't pretend this situation isn't dire. The Tyranians have dominated this sector for centuries because no one dared to challenge them. If we stand against them now, we're changing the course of galactic politics, and possibly starting a war," Elijah added grimly. "The Confederation already treats Earth as a defeated enemy," Nadia countered. "They take our resources, restrict our expansion, and mock our efforts to gain a foothold in the galaxy. If this ship gives us a chance to change that equation, I say we take it." She looked around the bridge, meeting the eyes of each crew member. "But this isn't my decision alone. Each of you has family, friends, loved ones who could face consequences. I need to know you're with me." One by one, the bridge crew voiced their support. Some were eager, others nervous, but all were united in their commitment to the ship and its captain. "Araya," Nadia said finally, "send a message to Earth Command. Inform them of our situation, and—" she hesitated, "and tell them it's time for humanity to stop bowing to those who would keep us down." "Message sent," Araya confirmed. "However, I should note that based on standard transmission speeds, a response will not be received before the Tyranian deadline expires." "We're on our own then," Nadia concluded, "just like always." The hour passed quickly as the crew prepared for what might be the most significant confrontation in human history. The Persistence maintained its position between the Tyranian fleet and Outpost Sigma, a silent declaration that humanity would no longer stand aside. When the deadline arrived, Admiral Vorketh's image appeared on the viewscreen once more. "Your time has expired, Captain Chen. What is your decision?" "The Persistence remains under Earth Command," Nadia stated firmly. "We will not power down, and we will not be boarded." Vorketh's expression hardened. "Then you leave us no choice." He turned to someone off-screen. "Target their propulsion systems. I want that vessel disabled, not destroyed." "Admiral," Nadia said, her voice carrying an edge that made even Vorketh pause. "Before you fire, you should know that we've been analyzing your shield harmonics for the past hour." "Araya, demonstrate." A single beam lanced out from the Persistence, striking the Tyranian flagship with pinpoint accuracy. The massive vessel's shields flared and then flickered out completely, leaving it momentarily vulnerable. "That was a warning," Nadia informed the visibly shocked Admiral. "The next shot won't be." The bridge of the Tyranian vessel erupted in chaos as officers scrambled to respond to this unexpected development. Vorketh's face contorted with rage and disbelief. "This is impossible," he snarled. "No human vessel has the capability to." "Things change, Admiral," Nadia interrupted. "Here's what's going to happen now. The Confederation will withdraw from the Vega sector. The human colonies there will remain under Earth jurisdiction, and in the future, when you sit across from Earth representatives at diplomatic functions, you will treat them with the respect due to equals. You cannot dictate terms to the Confederation." Vorketh roared. "One vessel, no matter how advanced, cannot stand against our entire fleet." "Perhaps not," Nadia conceded. "But we can certainly ensure that whoever wins, the Tyranian Confederation loses its flagship and its admiral." She let that sink in before continuing. "And consider this, Admiral. If one Earth vessel has been hiding this level of technology, how many others might there be?" It was a bluff, of course. The Persistence was unique, at least as far as Nadia knew. But the seed of doubt had been planted, and she could see it taking root in Vorketh's expression. "This conversation is not over," the Admiral declared, though his tone had lost some of its certainty. "The Confederation Council will hear of this development." "I'm counting on it," Nadia replied. "It's time they recognized that humanity is not to be trifled with." The transmission ended, and the bridge crew held their breath as they watched the Tyranian vessels on the tactical display. Slowly, the crescent-shaped warships began to move, their formation shifting until they were aligned for departure. "They're withdrawing," Quan reported, disbelief evident in his voice. "All vessels are powering down weapons and preparing for FTL." A cheer erupted on the bridge, quickly dampened as Nadia raised her hand. "This isn't a victory," she cautioned. "It's just the beginning of a new phase. The Confederation won't forget or forgive this humiliation easily. But they'll think twice before dismissing humanity again," Elijah pointed out, a rare smile crossing his weathered face. As the Tyranian fleet disappeared into FTL, the Persistence received a transmission from Outpost Sigma. The administrator, along with representatives from a dozen species, expressed their gratitude for the ship's intervention during the pirate attack. More significantly, they requested formal meetings with Earth diplomats. Meetings between equals, not supplicants. Hours later, as the immediate crisis passed and the crew had a moment to breathe, Nadia retreated to her quarters to draft her report to Earth Command. How does one explain that the obsolete vessel they've been mocked for operating is actually the most advanced ship in known space? How does one justify acting without orders in a way that might reshape humanity's place in the galaxy? A soft chime announced ARIA's presence. "Captain, may I speak with you?" "Go ahead, ARIA," Nadia replied, setting aside her report. "I have been authorized to share additional information regarding the Persistence's origins," the A began. "The ship was constructed 73 years ago, during the early days of humanity's expansion into space. Its designers foresaw that other species might view humans as a threat or a resource to be exploited rather than equals." "They weren't wrong," Nadia commented dryly. "The Persistence was designed to be overlooked, a vessel so seemingly insignificant that no one would consider it a threat," ARIA continued. "Its true capabilities were hidden, to be revealed only when humanity faced extinction or subjugation." "But why wait so long?" Nadia asked. "Humanity has been struggling for decades. My protocols required certain conditions to be met," ARIA explained. "Not just external threats, but also the right crew. Individuals who would use this power responsibly. You and your crew were selected specifically for this ship, Captain Chen. Your records indicated the ideal combination of integrity, courage, and compassion." Nadia absorbed this information slowly. "So what happens now? Do we reveal everything to the galaxy? Do we use this technology to carve out a human empire?" "That decision belongs to you and to Earth's leadership," ARIA replied. "But if I may offer an observation, today you used the Persistence's power not to destroy, but to protect. Not to conquer, but to establish equality. That choice embodies the best of human potential." Nadia nodded slowly. "We've been treated as less than we are for too long. But we won't make the same mistake the Tyranians did. We won't use our strength to dominate others." She moved to the viewport, gazing out at the stars that had once seemed so forbidding, so far beyond humanity's reach. Now, for the first time, they looked like possibilities waiting to be explored. "Send a message to Earth Command," she instructed ARIA. Tell them the Persistence is ready to lead humanity into a new era. An era where we take our rightful place among the stars, not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals, as innovators, as humans." As the message was transmitted across the vast distances of space, the Persistence continued its silent vigil over Outpost Sigma. From the outside, it no longer appeared weak or insignificant. Its true nature was finally revealed, a harbinger of change, a symbol of human ingenuity and resilience. A ship that had once been mocked throughout the galaxy now stood as a silent promise. Humanity had arrived, and the stars would never be the same again.